The wind howled around the ancient Misselthwaite Manor, carrying with it whispers and secrets of the past. In one of the dark rooms sat Mary Lennox, a young girl with sharp eyes and a cold heart, staring out the window at the wide gardens that stretched before her. Little did she know then that her fate would be forever changed by that mysterious place. The next morning, as she wandered through the narrow alleys of the garden, she heard the chirping of a small bird. She followed it with her eyes until she saw it perched on a dry tree branch near a high, ivy-covered wall. Approaching it cautiously, she suddenly noticed something strange, a piece of metal gleaming beneath the fallen ivy. She bent down and picked it up, to her surprise that it was an old, worn key. Where did this come from? She wondered, then looked around for any sign of a door that the key might have. As she touched the stone wall, she felt a gap behind the ivy. She pushed the papers aside, her heart pounding, to find a small, cracked wooden door, locked with a rusty lock. With a trembling hand, she shook the key into the lock. After several attempts, the lock turned slowly, and the door opened with a frightening creak. She found herself standing on the threshold of a deserted garden, filled with dead trees and dry weeds. The air was heavy, as if time had stopped years ago. "A dead garden," Mary whispered, but something inside her told her that this place could come back to life. The next day, she returned with some simple garden tools she'd found in the shed. She began to clear the ground of dry weeds and stir the soil with enthusiasm. One day, as she was working, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see a blond boy in simple clothes carrying a basket full of seeds and seedlings. "You're the new one, aren't you?" he said, smiling. "I'm Dickon. I've been gardening here since I was a child." Mary wasn't used to being treated kindly, so she replied sharply, "And what are you doing here?" "This is my garden." Dickon laughed softly. "The garden belongs to no one, but it needs someone to love it to bring it back to life." Then he took small seeds from his watering can. "These are wildflower seeds. If we plant them together, this garden will become the most beautiful place in Misselthwaite." As the days passed, Mary began to change. She was no longer the selfish, angry girl. She looked forward to each morning to go into the garden with Dickon, to plant, water, and laugh in the warm sunshine. But the mansion held another secret. One night, as Mary was returning to her room, she heard a faint cry coming from the end of the corridor. Curious, she followed it until she reached a locked room. Slowly, she pushed open the door to see a dark room and, in a large bed, a pale child who looked very ill. "Who are you?" he asked weakly. "I'm Mary. And you?" "I'm Colin, Mr. Craven's son." Mary knew then that this was her cousin, the child everyone had been talking about in hushed tones, as if he were a ghost. She spent the next hours talking to him about the secret garden, about Dickon, and about how nature could heal wounds. "I want to see it," Colin suddenly said, his eyes shining with hope. The next day, with Dickon's help, Mary brought a wheelchair and took Colin to the garden for the first time in his life. He felt the fresh air on his face and saw the seeds they had planted begin to sprout. "It's magical," Colin whispered. As the weeks passed, Colin began to struggle to stand with the help of Mary and Dickon. His legs were weak, but his willpower grew stronger every day. One sunny morning, he took his first steps among the flowers in what had once been a dead garden. At that moment, everyone felt that something miraculous had happened. It wasn't just the garden that had come back to life, but their hearts as well. One evening, as they sat together under the apple tree that had begun to bear fruit again, they heard heavy footsteps approaching. They turned to see Mr. Craven standing at the door, his eyes brimming with tears. "Colin," he said, his voice broken, then ran to his son and hugged him tightly. That night, Misselthwaite Manor came back to life after years of darkness. The secret garden became not just a place, but a symbol of hope, friendship, and the unending power of life.